Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of Carnegie Borough Council to order. We'll begin with a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was Steve. We'll blame Steve. Thought it was Rick Daggery. Okay, Steve, would you please take roll call?
Thank you, sir. Councilperson Borough,
Present.
Councilperson Boyd,
Present.
Councilperson Demko,
Here.
Councilperson Sarsfield, here. Councilperson DeLoss,
Here.
Council President Patina,
Here.
Mayor Kabistik.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you, Steve. Is there any public comment on any of the listed motions this evening? If there is, please state your name, step forward. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing no public comment, we'll begin with administration. Councilman Sarsfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion A is a motion to approve the minutes from the council meeting on February 9th, 2015.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Mr. President, I'm going to ask for a motion to table. Motion B is to consider further discussion on this item.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any comment? Seeing no comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Motion C is a motion to offer a conditional offer of employment to one Todd Scott for the position of part-time meter enforcement officer to be effective March 9th, 2015 in accordance with the current labor agreement.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President, that starting wage in accordance with the CBA is $10.79.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Finance, Councilman DeLoss.
Thank you, Mr. President. A motion to approve the March bill list and bill list addendum as amended.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. President, the amendment to the addendum was for late bill for gasoline for our borough vehicles in the amount of $5,362.21.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please, Steve.
Councilperson Demko,
Yes.
Councilperson DeLoss,
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd,
Yes.
Councilperson Borough,
Yes.
Councilperson Sarsfield,
Yes.
Council President Patina.
Yes.
Motion passes.
A motion to approve the purchase lease of a 2016 Ford Police Interceptor through the Shaycog Purchasing Alliance from Wilson Wind Ford at a price of $31,445, including a 5-year, 100,000-mile premium care warranty.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on this item?
Mr. President, this was included in our budget that we approved in December.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please, Steve.
Councilperson Sarsfield,
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd,
Yes.
Councilperson DeLoss,
Yes.
Councilperson LeVar,
Yes.
Councilperson Demko,
Yes.
Council President Patina.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public Works, Councilwoman Demko.
Motion to permit the Carnegie Sunday Softball Association to utilize 7th Avenue Field every Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. from April 1st, 2015 to September 1st, 2014.
15.
It should be, excuse me, I should type that.
15.
15, typo.
Second.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Motion to direct KLH engineers to prepare bid specifications necessary to advertise the 2015 pavement maintenance program for the Borough of Carnegie.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Steve, do you have a list of streets for the proposed program?
We have some residents from Borough, so.
I'm sorry, I do not have the entire list, but I know that we are, Morrow is one, Morrow, Patterson, and also we have Annabelle Street that would be considered as an alternate.
Annabelle's an alternate, and so is
I have
Angora.
The other two are Steen and Angora.
Angora's an alternate as well.
Oh, that's an alternate.
Angora was.
I thought it all.
Angora.
Yeah, Annabelle was the
Annabelle
alternate.
was the alternate.
I thought there was one.
Angora became an alternate today based on the recommendation I saw from our engineer.
Oh,
Correct.
Because of the cost of curbs.
Yes.
The cost of curbs is going to be inordinately high, so that's why I went to an alternate.
But I think Steen was part of the program, was it not?
yeah, at least there was.
I don't think that changed.
No, Steve didn't change.
Yeah.
No, just Annabelle and Angora were the alternates. So, okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Motion to approve payment application number 3, final, to Sewer Specialty Services in the amount of $26,409.25 for the Shaycog Year 4 Joint Municipal O&M CCTV inspection and cleaning.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please, Steve.
Councilperson Sarsfield,
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd,
Yes.
Councilperson Demko,
Yes.
Councilperson Luvara,
Yes.
Councilperson DeLoss,
Yes.
Council President Katina.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to award contract number 2015-01 hardscape to R&B Contracting and Excavation, Inc. in the amount of $532,493.75 for the work to be executed through Penvest for lot number 10 and Citizens Parking Lot improvements.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any comment?
Just say it's a long time coming.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please, Steve.
Councilperson Luvara,
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd,
Yes.
Councilperson Demko,
Yes.
Councilperson Sarsfield,
Absolutely.
Councilperson DeLoss,
Yes.
Council President Katina.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to award contract number 2015-01 Greenscape to Stormworks in the amount of $3,375 for the work to be executed through Penvest for Lot 10 and Citizens Parking Lot improvements.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, roll call vote, please, Steve.
Councilperson Demko,
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd,
Yes.
Councilperson Luvara,
Yes.
Councilperson DeLoss,
Yes.
Councilperson Sarsfield,
Yes.
Council President Katina.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Community Development and Code Enforcement, Councilman LeVar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion 5A, a motion to adopt ordinance number 2411, an ordinance of the Borough of Carnegie, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Chapter 5, Part 2 of the Borough Code of Ordinances to provide for the adoption of the International Property Maintenance Code, amending Chapter 5, Part 4 of the Borough Code of Ordinances for occupancy permits, amending Chapter 10, Part 2 of the Borough Code of Ordinances for open wells and excavations, and amending Chapter 21, Part 5 of the Borough Code of Ordinances for obstructions of sidewalks.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
5B, motion to adopt ordinance number 2412, an ordinance of the Borough of Carnegie, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, authorizing the issuance of and awarding not in excess of $1,108,055 principal amount guaranteed revenue note at a private sale.
Second.
Motion, motion for second?
Second.
Oh,
Second.
I'm sorry. Motion has been made and seconded. Discussion?
Mr. President, note that the amount is not to exceed $1.1 million, and that is well above what we anticipate spending on these parking lot renovations.
Preliminarily, the number was around $750,000, I believe. Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Roll call vote, please, Steve.
Councilperson Sarsfield,
Yes.
Councilperson Navarro,
Yes.
Councilperson Boyd,
Yes.
Councilperson Demko,
Yes.
Councilperson Delos,
Yes.
Council President Katina.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to ratify the decision of the Planning Commission recommending to council the development of 335 East Main Street, Matt Total Products / Bacon Restaurant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, just letting people know where it is, where Ferry Memorial used to be. This will be the location, and correct me if I'm wrong there, this will be kind of like a breakfast lunch.
It'll be, they call themselves an upscale breakfast and lunch place with, that's moderately priced. And I've seen the sample menu, and it's going to be a really nice addition to the community.
And I see a
A liquor
application
license.
for a liquor license
Yes.
on the window, which is kind of unusual for a breakfast and lunch place, except for Tony's Cafe, of course.
Well,
Or the poorhouse.
no, because they're also going to host parties there.
Oh, I see.
So they're going to have, since they have that huge space, they're going to have some events.
Nice.
Wonderful.
And they, oh, by the way, they do, if they are, right now the goal is breakfast and lunch. If it becomes a success, they will move into dinner.
Which is what Bob started off as a breakfast and lunch, and became a full-time.
Right, which would be a nice compliment to Bob, because they're really two different menus, and I think it'll appeal to a different population, and it'll be, of course, a crossover.
Thanks for your help, Jen.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
5D, motion to ratify the decision of the Planning Commission recommending to council the lot development of Rowley's Poorhouse located at 217 East Main Street, lot and block 103-M-1A2, contingent upon third-party review approval.
Second.
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. President, this is the building that Mr. Riley's going to build right next to his. It'll kind of give you an outdoor atmosphere. It's where he's normally has been putting up the tent.
This is the 10th. This still is the 10th.
So we're just,
Yeah.
It's the same as last year?
Correct? What was the change?
Right now, what he's going to be doing, he's not ready for his permanent structure. So for us to provide him a temporary occupancy permit, he went to the Planning Commission. It's pretty much just going to mirror exactly what he did last year.
which if anybody was down there for St. Patrick's Day, I mean, I think it was warmer in that tent than it was in the bar. I mean, it was fantastic, a good turnout. So if you're a St. Patty's person, as myself, I'd like you to stop down there and go enjoy yourself.
Steve, does he anticipate having this in place by then? I mean, we're talking next week.
Yes.
Okay.
He's ready to go.
He knows that, and
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
He's ready to execute.
yes. So once this evening, I'll let him know he's free to move on. Then once we get our letter from the third party, he'll be able to receive his permit.
All right.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now have committee reports. Administration, Councilperson Sarsfield.
Nothing to report this month, Mr. President.
Thank you. Finance, Councilperson Delaz.
Only one thing, well, two things actually. Police chief has proposed to move the purchase of the 2016 police car into 2015 because we have an opportunity to get a special purchase deal. We need to study those numbers a little bit more and get him an answer as quickly as we're able to do that. And then otherwise, we're making a provision for the president's office to have oversight of the budget numbers so that we can do a little better job on that.
Thank you. Code Enforcement and Community Development, Councilperson Borough.
Thank you, Mr. President. And actually, I'm pleased to report a couple of things that are going on right now. With the Code Enforcement Officer, Mr. Roma, and Borough Manager, we have been reviewing, as you will see from the first motion that I brought forth, various sections of the code relating to matters of occupancy permits, open wells, excavations, and obstruction of sidewalks in order to bring the borough ordinances up to 2015 standards. And in doing so, the hope is to make the code enforcement officer's job more, consistent, gives a certain amount of continuity and clarity so that we reduce a great deal of ambiguity with regard to what people are expected to do, and that the ambiguity is out of the ordinances. In addition to that, as other people attending have been part of, the continued discussion with regard to the zoning of the business district. There was a meeting since our last meeting here, and it was very helpful to me to understand what the scope is of what is proposed to be like a downtown district 1 and a downtown district 2, and what type of businesses are contemplated in both. So a lot of cooperative effort by active citizens, and I was pleased to be part of that. Then the third thing, and this is in the area more of the community development, and the recent meeting as recently as early this evening, and the ongoing discussions about how do we coordinate some of the things that already exist, such as the crawl, and to see if there is a way to address the concerns of the business community with the wanting to have a blues festival, and how do we resurrect those ideas together and respect the needs of the business community, and give a definition to what this blues festival is all about. What is the scope of it, especially in light of certain positive parameters dealing with the closing of the parkway entrances, and to see what's going on. But the most important part is, although it's never easy, as it is not easy in any group, including your family, the idea is that we all have a seat at the table, and that there was a give and take going on. And I think that things are hopefully moving forward on all fronts, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works, Councilperson Demko.
Nothing to report. I just want to commend our Public Works. I got so many phone calls and so many emails about how wonderful our roads were during all this bad weather. We even made the radio, from what I understand. I didn't hear it, but somebody actually called in the radio to commend Carnegie on their streets.
Two people, two different radio stations, two people.
See? And also somebody even...
It was Stephen.
Stephen King.
Ice cream's so great!
And the police chief.
And somebody also sent them pizza. They're
Oh,
trying to
that's nice.
find out who it was so they can send them a thank you, but they don't know who it was, but somebody sent them pizza saying, thanks guys, you did a great job. So that was pretty neat. Very neat.
Steve sent the pizza.
I think that was Terry
I
that
sent
sent
the
the
pizza.
pizza.
What kind of pizza was it?
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Public Safety, Councilperson Boyd.
I just have one thing to talk about briefly. You can't pick up a paper very often anymore, it seems, and not see something about a train wrecking somewhere in somebody's neighborhood, somewhere in the tri-state area. Fortunately, the main set of tracks out here doesn't carry hazardous materials very often. The other tracks you can't say that for. There's various different materials that cross our main street, cross Mansfield Boulevard, and head on into the city or out of Carnegie the other direction. Thanks to some contacts that the mayor had and our deputy chief worked with the good folks at the railroad, we've got some specific hazardous material training that will occur this not this Thursday or not this Wednesday, the 25th.
25th of March.
Yeah, March 25th. That we're pretty excited about. I mean, it's not going to make us all experts at dealing with all of these things, all of these crazy chemicals that you read about in the paper every day, but it'll certainly give us a better comfort level with what we're dealing with and have a good solid understanding, I know, that what the setback requirements will be going forward. So we'll know where the safe zone is. Everybody has heard the old expression, rule of thumb, at some point in their lives. Anybody know where rule of thumb came from? No, believe it or not, it came from firefighters. And the idea is if you hold your thumb out like this, and if you don't cover what you think is dangerous, you're standing too close, you need to move back. And that's where rule of thumb came from. And so endeth the lesson for the day. There you have it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Just one thing to add on your, we will be inviting other communities to this event, and the police will be there, so it'll be a multi-community event and multi-departmental event.
All good.
Thank you. And if you looked at the article in the Post-Gazette within the past week, there was an article about hazardous materials and specifically fuel tankers and how dangerous they are. And if one did derail or one did explode, you're looking at an evacuation radius. Basically, the entire town of Carnegie, Roslyn Farms, and part of Scott Township would need to be evacuated if it occurred in this general radius. And this is out there, and this is public knowledge. It's in the Post-Gazette article. There's actually a 90-page report on it, which is very enlightening. I took the time to read it because I would have never thought it would be that big of an area that would need to be evacuated. But it's scary when you really think about it. And training's a good thing, but I would wish that some of these companies would actually step up with money and financial opportunity for the EMS, for the fire department, for the first responders, so that we do have the equipment and the materials that they need to respond. Because right now, if something did happen, we're woefully it would be sad. It would be a sad event because we would need to wait for the county because they're the only ones that have the materials basically in order to try to deal with something of this magnitude. As far as a few other things, last week in our workshop meeting, one of the things that we talked about was that our website, we have a website that's seriously outdated, and we know that. We all recognize that fact, and we have to look at some way of coming up with money in this budget or basically freeing up funds to basically get our website updated so we can have better communication with the public. Because that needs to be key. And we've been talking about it for some time, and I'm serious this year in trying to really make this happen because there's been, since the time that we first came out with our website, there's been so many updates with technology. There would be, some of the things that we could do would be truly incredible. Linking the calendar, sending email updates out automatically. Those are just some of the things that I look forward to in trying to get this off the ground. So that's something that, like I said, we need to really focus on this year. Last week, I also talked to our board about officially talking to Scott Township because it's going to be a long-term project. There would be a long-term, obviously, discussion, but basically looking at the Washington Avenue Corridor Revitalization Project is what I'm calling it. And it would be a project similar to what we did on 3rd Street with Crothers and Heidelberg. But basically, greenery, lighting, curbs. It would be truly a great benefit for Scott Township and Carnegie to partner together on something like this and try to pursue federal money in order to get that main area of our town improved, because it's just like 3rd Street. 3rd Street looks beautiful, and I'm very happy with how it turned out, but I'm sure Washington Avenue, if we gave that level of attention to Washington Avenue, it would be a truly great experience and inviting gateway to the town. Not only for Scott Township, but us as well. It would beautify the entire area. And last but not least, over the past month or so, I've been looking at property sales in Carnegie and trying to compare some of the property sales with what properties actually assessed at. And what I've done is I've actually sent some properties. I believe I sent about 10 of them to our solicitor and our solicitor then in turn sent them to the school district to partner with the school district to try to go after properties that were basically very underassessed. And when I say very underassessed, these are properties where the sale price might be $50,000 or more difference from where the property is currently assessed at. And out of the 10, I believe we sent the school district, I believe they're going to be taking 6 of them to appeal. And I have another batch that I'm going to be looking at and sending to our solicitor, send to the school district to partner with them. Because it makes no sense for us to do these individually. Obviously, the school district has a much higher millage rate, and it makes more sense to partner with them to basically take these to appeals, because it's not a cheap process, obviously. So by doing this, we can make sure people are adequately assessed at what their fair market value actually is, rather than getting away with, if you paid $300,000 on a piece of property and you're only assessed at $150,000. That's not fair to the rest of the taxpayers, unfortunately. So that's something that I've been doing. Like I said, I have another batch ready to go. I need to finish that and get those to our solicitor so that the school district will hopefully have about the same success rate in pursuing those and appealing those as well. And I know I don't do much for the President's Report, so this is actually a few months worth of President's Report, so I know I've gone over my 3 minutes, so I thank you for bearing with me. So, Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a couple of things. One, on Thursday this week, myself and other members of council will be attending a utility summit downtown, which is sponsored by the Connect Group, and this will ultimately, hopefully, provide us some information on how to work better with the utility, try to combine our resources as much as possible. So I'm hoping to have some more information from that next month. And also just one note, as of March 1st, the park rentals have started. So I know that every year we always pretty much sell out each weekend. So just if there's anybody ever interested in using the park shelters for an event, just to pass that along. So that's all I have for this month.
Thank you. Carnegie Volunteer Fire Department EMS.
Yeah, let's see. 158 EMS calls, which is extremely low, and even lower is we only had 12 fire calls during the month. And for the second month in a row, there were no false alarms in the borough. There was one fire that was in a dumpster in Pennsbury Village. Nobody got hurt. It's all good, except for the dumpster, of course. But, thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Junior counsel?
Good evening. I'd first like to start out by saying congratulations to our very own Daniel Doyle, senior at Carleton, on getting first chair at regional choir. Excuse me. This hasn't been done by a Carleton student in over 10 years. It's a great win for our arts program. On March 10th, tomorrow, there's a girls basketball playoff game at 6 p.m. at Cannon Mac High School. March 21st is our Mr. Carleton pageant. It's at 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. It's a good time.
They're all enrolled.
Okay. You have to get fitted for your tux by Friday. March 21st.
Rick has one, so he's good to go.
March 24th is the Carleton Education Foundation organizational meeting. It's a new program. Lisa Rowley, who's, I believe she's a special education teacher, is starting for, she says it's based on finding more educational opportunities for students outside of the classroom, which sounds vague to me, but I'll be attending the meeting. It's at 7 p.m. in the high school library. If you have any, if you're interested or have any questions on it, I have a contact name and number. And then April 16th through 19th is our spring musical, high school musical. Tickets are on sale to the public today.
What is it?
High school musical.
Oh, high school music. High school music.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor's report?
Thank you, Mr. President. The crime report for the month of February, we had 18 criminal arrests and citations, 60 traffic citations, parking tickets numbered 115. I give Tom Poole a heck of a lot of credit for writing for parking tickets in some of that weather, so thank you. And complaints and self-initiated activity, 872. Last month I mentioned a little bit about some of the scams that have been going on in intercommunity intercommunity reports. The IRS scam is still very prevalent, where people will contact you and say you owe money for the IRS and try to get you to pay that money. So be very careful if you're contacted by anybody saying they're from the IRS. Another scam, though, is probably one that we just recently have seen and have really never seen before. It was a 90-year-old lady at Honus Wagner, and she received a phone call from someone saying they were PNC Bank, and that she needed to come down to the bank to, they were transitioning her account to a new account number, and she needed to come down to the bank to sign. I thank goodness that this lady was as bright as could be for 90 years old, and she called the police immediately. Of course, we set up a police officer down at the bank. We weren't able to identify anything. We also set a police officer up at her home, just in case when she left that there would be some kind of shenanigans that people would try to rob her. The good news is that Honus Wagner is a secure building. Our police have since informed all the banks of this scam and the senior high-rises. So always make sure, especially if you're elderly in this community, that you identify whether a call was valid or not. There were a few things that were red flags, including a number that was out of district. So that was a big red flag. And not to say anything mean, but also the fact that they had a heavy accent. It doesn't mean that people can't talk to you that have a heavy accent and work for the bank, but out of district and a heavy accent together, I guess, were kind of a red flag, so she called the police. We have received a donation for spike strips. We have 2 brand new spike strips. The officers are undergoing training now. Spike strips are utilized in case a high-speed car chase comes through the town of Carnegie. These spike strips are very safe. When you put them down, the the tires lose air gradually, so it doesn't blow out the tires. They're warranted, and we've seen these used in other communities, and being that we're between two interstates, we feel that this would be these are nice for us to have just in case. I want to mention that we have added an additional shift for the traffic issues, and we will be stationing an officer in different areas in town looking for people who are taking shortcuts through our residential communities and violating traffic laws. Of course, we won't be able to catch them all, but we understand that traffic is going to be very difficult for everybody, so we just ask people to be patient, wait your turn, and not be speeding through our residential communities, blowing off stop signs and endangering children that are at play or other community members. So that's a roving shift that will be happening in the afternoon, and we have already identified a few areas where we know that where that's an issue, and we will do our best to cover those areas with the staff that we have. Speaking of traffic issues, I think it's no surprise that the traffic that came through town was just debilitating this weekend. When they do a full closure on the Parkway, it really, in the area of Carnegie, it really affects Carnegie. We had the full closure on Saturday was the inbound closure. So what that does is that routes all the traffic through Carnegie to get back onto the Parkway, which may pretty much put Carnegie at a standstill. I met with, well, I actually didn't meet with them. I had met with them in the past, but I talked to PennDOT during the day, and I asked them to drive the detour route to determine where we could make some adjustments. They came up with a couple of areas that could be adjusted, but nothing substantial. The interesting point is that one of the adjustments was an area that the chief and I had pointed out to them probably about 4 weeks ago and asked them to adjust the traffic pattern in this one area, and they went back to their, I guess, the head traffic guy, and he came back and said no. And now they're telling us we need to adjust the traffic pattern in this one area. So we will look to do that. But the full closures could be very difficult. We had 5 officers stationed throughout the community. One of the issues we did have is that Green Tree did not have, or I don't want to say Green Tree, but at Noblestown and Mansfield, they did not have an officer stationed. During the day, I was able to get PennDOT to provide a flagger there, and we'll just play it by ear. I think we will get through this year. The full closures will be the most difficult. The other thing I am really concerned about with the traffic would be that the lanes that they have created on the Parkway are extremely narrow. I'm very concerned about an accident, and when an accident happens, that's another opportunity that they will reroute traffic through Carnegie. Unfortunately, when an accident happens, we don't have a full staff. We don't have a full contingent of overtime officers to work the lights. So that can even have a more difficult effect. So we will meet with them. We will be meeting with them tomorrow, the chief and I have a few ideas that we will throw out and see if they will accept any of those ideas and hopefully create a more safe environment for traffic. One last thing too, be patient. I know it's very trying, but yelling or screaming at an officer isn't going to get you through the light any quicker. They're out there trying the best they can. They don't really want to see a traffic jam either. We are well on our way to having the Honest Wagner portrait for the American Legion building completed. We just finalized the concept. It's going to the painter right now. Phil Savata has done a great job of providing guidance on what the portraits should look like. If anybody knows Phil, there's one guy that definitely has an eye for art, so we hope to have something up, I'm thinking by summer. Just question for the manager in Public Works. Didn't get a chance to talk about this. It's spring. Spring means rain. I just want to make sure that we take the time to go through Campbell's Run Creek and make sure. I know you guys do that every spring, but I want to remind you guys that go through Campbell's Run Creek and make sure that there's no debris that could cause a backup under the bridge. We don't want any, problems on there. And that includes, if you could check out the tree on, right at Borough and Run. There's a tree that's hanging over. It's the one we check out every year. I'm hearing that it's looking worse for wear this year. So, thank you. Lastly, I'd like to just remind everybody that the 5K, actually two more things. The 5K, the registration is open. The Carnegie Volunteer Fire Department 5K. All the proceeds go towards go to fund our fire department. It's open to walkers, it's open to runners, it's open to people walking their dog. It's a great community event. The early registration, which is $15 per person, which includes a T-shirt, and the race and the timing chip and all that. The early registration ends April 3rd. So after April 3rd, it'll jump up to $20, which still is a bargain compared to some other races. And then I just want to remind everybody, we have a lot going on in Carnegie. There is, traffic can be a little difficult. You can grab a great meal here in Carnegie. We have very awesome small shops where you can get a lot of different goods. And then as far as entertainment goes, we have a lot of things happen this month. We have Ghosts at Off the Wall, which is a great play, got great reviews. The Mikado, is that how you say it, Maggie? Mikado, by the Pittsburgh Savoyards. That's going on right now. We have Madeline by CPAC, and I see that Hannah's here. Are you in that, Hannah?
Yeah.
Yes, and that's March 20th or 22nd. And then probably one of the biggest events of the month we have right here in Carnegie is the 49th Annual Pasenki Egg Sale, which is an event that draws people from all over town. There's a really nice event down at St. Peter's and Paul's Church on Mansfield Avenue, which is the Gold Domes, the church with the gold domes right across from Bob's. And it's a wonderful event. So if you can make any of those events in town, stay in town and enjoy yourself. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hannah, did you have anything? I know you.
Sorry for being late. BC Drama Club is having a talent show on Saturday at 7, and the cost is $8. The BC hockey team is facing Erie Cathedral Prep for Ping Cup semifinals right now at RMU. And then the BC girls basketball team is playing tomorrow night at 6 at Ambridge Area High School in the second round of playoffs against Our Lady of Sacred Heart. And that's it. But my mom wanted to know what's going on with the Blues Fest. She's really interested in that.
We had a discussion. There was a small group tonight that discussed it. I believe they have some recommendations. I don't know if you have anything more to say for that, Phil, or there's still discussions ongoing.
Yeah, we need to figure out what we want to endorse and what we want to do.
She really wants it.
It's a work in progress.
She really wants it, did you say?
Yeah. She's supposed to come, but she has to pick my sister. So she
Would she be willing to volunteer? There you got someone willing to help then, Phil.
So it's a work in progress.
How about you just volunteered your mom for something?
She's not here. She's gonna.
I got a form I need you to sign, but
I'm sure she's probably pretty busy at times.
Okay. At this point, we'll have general public comment. If there's anyone wishing to make comment, please step forward, state your name and address, and please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes or less. Maggie, you're on the clock.
I'm on the clock, okay. Maggie Forbes from the Carnegie Free Library Music Hall. I just want to say it was a really proud day for the Library Music Hall. We had our first ever Civil War Symposium. We had 4 speakers come and talk. Started at 9 o'clock in the morning and it went till after 4. And I am not a Civil War historian, but I was completely engaged. I learned things, and the real measure of success is the number of questions that are asked at the conclusion of it. I think it's something we will try to do on a biannual basis. My colleague Diane Kleinfelder just really hit a home run on that. And we were fortunate because these were all pre-registrations, so we could reach everybody in advance. We knew who was coming, and sort of alert them. And there was somebody that actually showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning for a 9 o'clock event. But as we all know, that doesn't always work. A lot of it relies on just people showing up impromptu. But we were not affected because we could reach everybody. And by the parkway closures. The other thing I wanted to say is, yes, the Mikado was terrific. They're really getting it on the chin with the closures last weekend, and next weekend, and that's their cash cow, so it's really hurtful, but we have to get through it. And I have a granddaughter who's coming to see Madeline, coming from Columbus. And by the way, people did register for this from Plum, from Allison Park, from Wheeling, from Burgettstown, as well as from here for the festival. It really, I think, will turn into just grow into something. I also say we're going to be throwing our hat into the ring in terms of generating chaos in Carnegie, because we did receive a very generous state grant, and we're very happy to be working with the borough to actually restore the interior of our library, lighting and life safety, restore the plaster that looks a little bit like Frankenstein in some sections. It's held up with plaster work, with duct tape, painted over duct tape, lighting, flooring. It will be transformative, but it's probably a 9-month process. We will do everything we can to keep services going throughout that. We did land the matching funds for that, so we're starting to have discussions, and we'll probably be starting this in May, so there won't even be a respite in the library if you're looking for things. But we have a big building and we can work around it, and Steve's been great working with Steve on that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Amanda Foley. I'm at 820 Capitol Drive, and I think my question might be for Councilwoman Boyd. Fire department. Hello. The meeting before this one, the fire department came up to the Carnegie Towers, was Crafton. And I was just wondering why Crafton comes instead of Carnegie?
It happens in communities everywhere. Everybody has volunteer fire departments. Sometimes you can't fill a crew. If you don't have a crew, you can't roll. And we back up Crafton, we back up Bridgeville, both back us up. Scott Township works with us as well. They could have been third on the call list depending on the day. And we could have been somewhere else at the time. I actually can't remember the last time I went to 820 Capitol Drive.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of problems up there with the fire calls as we have in the past, but I just wondered.
I'm thrilled with that.
So am I, to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning having to get the kids out of bed. I just was curious because when I had asked the guy, he kind of gave a little smart remark. He says, if it's not on fire, they're not coming. I was just a little thrown by that. He said the last 2 calls they had come, and I was just a little thrown by that. And he just, of course he probably shouldn't be talking to me like that to begin with, but I was just kind of curious. And a lot of the people up there are just a little freaked out when they have to wait a half an hour for a fire department. So I was just figuring I could ask you that.
Firemen, including myself, don't always have the best manners.
My son is 16, he's on Glendale, and I tell him, you can't talk to people like that. I said, if somebody asks you a question, you shouldn't talk to them like that. I said, but, he wants to be on Carnegie, but they said they don't take 16-year-olds, so, but gotta work on that for him. He wants to be in Carnegie.
Nice.
So, but I appreciate that. I just wondered, because a lot of people, they said the last call they had was carbon monoxide, and they waited forever. And a lot of people just kind of panic. And
I was on that call.
were you?
Yeah, we were there in the middle of the night, and then we were there the next morning. There was a furnace issue.
Okay. I wasn't even there that day, so I don't know. But they all just look at me and complain. Like I have the the answer for everything.
You know a fire person, that makes you the expert.
I do. I know a few on your staff. That's why they look at me, but I don't have the answer for everything. So now I'm looking at you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Okay, since there's no one else, we'll begin with Council Good and Welfare. We'll begin with Councilman Sarsfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is the mayor outlined in his report, be patient. I got probably 12 to 14 calls. I'm not sure what everybody expected me to do, but I kindly took the calls. They were calling dispatch, everything, that the police weren't moving the traffic along quickly enough. These guys are professionals. They know what they do. They direct traffic for a living. Believe me, they don't want traffic to be sitting still any more than you want to be sitting still. There's a way to do it, and I explained it to the people that called me, and they still weren't happy. But can't make everybody happy. But believe me, our police is a good department, and they're getting people through. And because sometimes we utilize Scott Police and then other communities, and it's the same thing. I mean, they know what they're doing. It's just, it is what it is. So, as the mayor said, just be patient, and time heals all things. And also, it's St. Patrick's Day this month, always a day for everybody to be Irish. And I always enjoy the day. So I don't know if I'll be able to make it to the parade because my grandson might be here before then, or perhaps that day. So we're kind of on standby, but I want to wish everybody happy St. Patrick's Day that celebrates that. And I just, want to spread the word of peace and understanding with one another, whether it's here in the little town of Carnegie or wherever you go. Try to be patient and understanding and have a good nature with everybody. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilperson Boyd.
I have nothing this evening, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Demko. Thank you. Councilman LeVar.
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Councilman DeLuss.
I also did get some complaints, but honestly, I was driving around over the weekend in Carnegie, and I thought it was not as bad as what I expected it to be, given the parkway closure.
I agree with you.
I was able to get through town. I mean, I
What
had,
time though, what time were you trying to get through?
on
From 12,
Saturday,
from like, let's say 11 to 4 o'clock, it was at a standstill. So
On
were you there
Saturday
before that
or on
after that?
Sunday?
Saturday. It was before or after that, because after 5 o'clock it seemed to have been out.
I was driving through Carnegie at about 1:30 on Saturday, and I was able to get through. Now granted, there was a particular stream of cars that was going in one particular direction. If you weren't getting in that queue, you could pretty much get around where you were going. But I thought it was going to be worse than what it was. So I thought the guys did a great job.
Yeah, I went on Campbell's Run Road, and I was expecting to sit on Campbell's Run Road, and it was actually free-flowing on Saturday. I was surprised, actually. I mean, obviously, like Rick said, if you were going to get in that queue, obviously, traffic was going to be stopped, but I just made it in and out. I was perfectly happy. I was looking on my Facebook, I mean, fearing the worst, because I kept seeing I saw the Carnegie Police Department put something out, I saw Scott put something out. Scott's was funny, actually, because it said, avoid Carnegie at all costs, which was sort of amusing, because I'm out there in it, and I'm thinking, no, this isn't as bad as I thought. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was on Campbell's Run Road on Sunday at about noon, and then later at about 2. And I thought, where is this horrific traffic that everybody was expecting? So it must have been just in spots, and if you weren't in those spots, then it was okay. But
I can say, one thing I will say is there's a couple things. Unfortunately, the chief had a family issue tonight and couldn't be here, but one thing he did want to convey is that people think that the officers could just change the light at whim. The light still has to go through its complete cycle. So if there's a green arrow or whatever, you could you can, once it goes through that cycle, then you can change it. But it does have to go through its cycle, so you don't have the ability to just stop the green arrow or stop some of the other entities of the cycle. You could just shorten the straight arrow cycle. So that's one thing you want to know. The other issue that we had really was the fact that there was nobody at Noblestown and Mansfield. So that was backing up into the community, at least according to the officer that was there. And then there's also that natural congestion point, which is right by CVS there, right where the show is. And you have people coming from basically 5 different directions. The detour route takes them Mansfield and up East Main, and then out, Noblestown that way. Then you have people coming straight down East Main. Then you have people coming from Washington to East Main. Then you have people coming from Forsyth. So, was that 5 or was that 4? It might have been 4.
It's enough.
I'm running out of fingers, but so, and it's all converging into that one area, which is where the detour points them. And so that's an issue we're trying to make a little smoother, but we don't know how we can do that. And I think most of the people that were in the traffic were that point is where most of the issue happened.
I noticed also that being that the police are tied up at the intersections, a lot of the motorists felt that they were free to go wherever they wanted to go, including in the wrong direction on one-way streets, because they felt, I think, that nobody was really going to come after them.
Through stop signs, I got a lot of calls.
A lot of the CVS has a one-way next to it. Is that Hayes? And people just turn in there, they go the wrong way, and I think they know that nobody's going to come after them just because.
That's pretty abused.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just being in, they probably do that every, in any area. But you're right, the police can't leave their post. Even if you could leave their post, where are you going to pull somebody over on East Main Street? And you're just going to create a bigger congestion. So
That's all I have. Sorry.
That's all right.
it will be the topic for probably another 8 more months.
Just to coincide with what the mayor was saying a little bit earlier, there's so much to do in Carnegie. Whether you local eating establishments, drinking establishments, shopping, entertainment. I want you to remember one word, and it's see. Get out there and see Carnegie, because you can shop there, you can eat there, and you can entertain there. So go see. Everyone, take the message out, tell them to go see. Carnegie's still open for business, and we plan to be open for business moving forwards. So come see Carnegie, shop, eat, and entertain here. So.
And tell Scott that too.
Yeah, exactly. So. Seeing there's no other business before council tonight, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries.